So regulation, let's talk about regulation. We have already done this three regulation. One type of allosteric regulation, you already know this is allosteric regulation, happens reactant and product. So product will inhibit and reactant will stimulate. Always remember, reactant will stimulate, product will inhibit. This is short of regulation, and this is not under influence of hormones. It is independent of hormone, not under influence of hormone. Which hormone? Insulin and glucagon. It is not under influence of insulin and glucagon. So this allosteric is not. But these two are under influence of insulin and glucagon. So I already explained this. You can see here, allosteric regulation. You can see there are two types of allosteric regulation. One is feedback regulation. One is feed. This is feed forward. To change it, okay? FFS. This is FFS, feed forward stimulation. This is FBI, feedback inhibition. So as I have told you, this is enzyme, and then this is the enzyme catalyzing this reactant. It is converting reactant into product, and allosteric sites are there. And you know that all enzyme does not have allosteric site. Only rate limiting enzyme has allosteric site. So this product will inhibit this, and this is called FBI, feedback inhibition. Now this reactant will bind here, and this reactant will inhibit both places. It will bind. It also binds both places. So this reactant will bind here, and it will cause stimulation. And this is called feed forward stimulation on the enzyme. So this is two types of allosteric regulation. This is two types of allosteric regulation: feed forward stimulation and feedback inhibition. Correct it? Feed forward FFS and feedback inhibition. In metabolism, we will be requiring this. So this two, you can see the end product will go and inhibit the beginning enzyme, and this is how the whole reaction pathway will be regulated. If this is chain is blocked, so pathway cannot progress further, and because of that, pathway will be regulated. So this is how our body regulates. This is how through enzyme regulation by this end product, whole pathway is regulated. This is the enzyme. You can see this is one of the rate limiting enzyme. You can see multimeric protein. Just I wanted to show that this is a multimeric protein. You can see many proteins are there. Many proteins comes together and group and form a multimeric protein. So this is a multimeric. All rate limiting enzymes are generally multimeric enzymes. All rate limiting enzymes are allosteric enzyme and multimeric enzyme. So these are called modulator. So modulator means this inhibitor and activator both are modulator. So these are called positive modulator and negative modulator. Activator is the activator which is product, which is reactant. Activator is reactant, and reactant is called positive modulator. And product is inhibitor, and product is called negative modulator. Negative modulator. So remember this term, modulator. Product are negative modulator. Here this is negative modulator. Now, so you can see this one of the negative modulator here. This is pathway. Actually, this is a pathway we will study in MD2. This is pathway of pyrimidine synthesis. We will study in MD2. So what will happen? The end product is cytosine triphosphate. This will inhibit a rate limiting enzyme, which is second enzyme. This is second enzyme of the pathway. And after inhibiting this enzyme, the whole pathway will be inhibited. So this is how pathway regulation happens. So this is called feedback inhibition. This is a negative modulator.
Sorry, doctor, I just had a question.
Yes,
so
tell me.
If you go back 2 slides to where it says allosteric regulation, the one with the tree,
yes.
This one. So like for the FBI and FBS, are they like
FFS?
Oh, sorry, FFS, and are they two like other sites on the enzyme? Like there's the allosteric site, and then there's the feedback inhibition site.
No.
Oh, okay.
Both will bind on the same allosteric site.
Oh, it's just different molecules that will bind at the site.
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay. Okay.
So, though actually what will happen is, actually this is the body of enzyme. Body of enzyme will have different site. Okay, maybe this for feed forward stimulation, it will have different site. Okay, many sites will be there. It will have different site, and then feedback inhibitor will have different site. Okay, no problem. But the end result will be the enzyme. This will stimulate the enzyme. This will activate the enzyme. This allosteric site will not be here. This will be on the body of enzyme. That is what you have to remember. Okay.
Okay.
Why is
thank
it
you.
on the body? Like why does that, what's the significance of that?
So what will happen? It will, when it ties the, is a sort of it like feedback inhibitor will tie the enzyme.
Okay.
Okay, so that enzyme will not be that active, and it will actually untie the enzyme. Feed forward stimulation untie the enzyme, so that enzyme will be very active. Got that?
Yes.
Okay. So this is two. Remember, one is allosteric regulation. Allosteric regulation has feed forward and feedback inhibition. Now, second regulation is reversible modification by phosphorylation and dephosphorylation. Phosphorylation, I'll write it here, by phosphorylation and dephosphorylation. Second type of, this is under regulation of enzyme. First was not under regulation of enzyme, dephosphorylation. So this is regulated by insulin and glucagon. Now what will happen? This is enzyme, okay? This is enzyme. So enzyme will be phosphorylated. Enzyme will be phosphorylated. What is through what? ATP. It will be, ATP will be utilized to phosphorylate. So from phosphate from ATP will add to enzyme. Will add to enzyme. Phosphate from ATP will add to enzyme, and this ATP becomes ADP. And you know, any enzymes that utilize ATP to phosphorylate are called kinase. So kinase will do this job. Okay, kinase will phosphorylate this enzyme, and this will make phosphorylated enzyme. Now this enzyme generally, dephosphorylated enzyme generally are active, and this phosphorylated enzyme becomes inactive. Okay, so this is how enzyme can be regulated by phosphorylation. Now this enzyme, the same enzyme cannot convert it back to the dephosphorylated form. We need different enzyme. What is that different enzyme? The enzyme that will remove this phosphate group. That will remove this phosphate group by utilizing water, actually. By utilizing water. So any enzyme that utilizes water is hydrolase. And here hydrolase is phosphatase. Phosphatase. Okay. So phosphatase will reactivate this enzyme, and kinase will inactivate this enzyme. Did you get that? This is reversible modification. You can see covalent bond formation with phosphate and then removal of this covalent bond formation. This is reversible process. Reversible covalent. Yes.
Does that mean that it's a ligase then if it's reversible? Or
reversible ligase is always irreversible, okay? Ligase.
Yeah, I said lyase, like the LYA.
But lyase will not utilize ATP.
Right.
And it is not reversible. You can see it is, the process is reversible, but for opposite reaction, you require a different type of enzyme.
So this is a transferase, right?
This is
like
transferase.
Yeah.
This is kinase is transferase.
Yeah.
So when you have to phosphorylate, you need kinase.
Okay.
But when you need to dephosphorylate, you need different enzyme that is called phosphatase. It is a hydrolase.
Right. Okay. That makes way more sense.
Okay. So this is the process that is going on. This is actually two enzymes actually make this reversible covalent modification. First addition, and then you can see every time you can see ATP utilization, but you don't see ATP production here. Release of direct phosphate you can see. Here
Okay,
utilization.
so if a patient's unconscious and their blood sugar is like really low, I've given glucagon before, but I don't know what it does. And I've given glucagon IV for beta block overdose, but I don't know what it actually does.
Okay, you will know in pathway. So glucagon actually does something glycogenolysis through this mechanism.
Okay.
Through this mechanism, glucagon activates this enzyme through this mechanism and causes glycogenolysis.
Okay.
This is how glucagon you given. The glucagon regulate the pathway through this method, phosphorylation and dephosphorylation. I'm telling you the principle, so we will elaborate the pathway there when we study
Right.
pathway. Got that?
Yes, thanks.
Okay.
All I know is that glucagon brings your blood sugar back up.
Yes. So this is the molecular mechanism, how it affects that enzyme inside the cell. So what happens is whatever event happening, conversion of this enzyme to other enzyme, phosphorylated, this is happening inside cell. And you know, glucagon cannot insert inter cell. So glucagon will be binding here. And then it will be affecting here this pathway, phosphorylation, dephosphorylation. And then it will be regulating inside the cell. This is how. So we will talk this in detail slowly. We will talk in metabolism.
And once it turns it into glucose, can it drive it back out of the cell, like to get
Yes,
into the bloodstream?
yes, it will come out of the cell. Now you can see. So this is the regulation through reversible regulation, phosphorylation and dephosphorylation. I already explained. You can see protein is phosphorylated by a kinase. So kinase will phosphorylate this protein, and you can see this enzyme will change the structure. Enzyme is a protein. This will change the structure. Now again, second different type of enzyme comes, phosphatase. It will remove phosphate group from this. So this is how enzyme can change into phosphate form, phosphorylated form, and dephosphorylated form. And this is active form generally, and this is inactive generally. Okay. So phosphate group ties the enzyme. You can remember that way, and makes enzyme inactive. Generally, I'm talking generally. So now.
And transferists, they always break a phosphate bond, right?
Yeah, they break phosphate bond from ATP and transfer phosphate bond to enzyme. Okay. So now. So the third is induction and depression. So I want you to know about induction and depression only one thing, only this thing. So just remember, induction means increased synthesis. So enzyme is a protein. So how does protein synthesis occur? Protein synthesis occurs by activating DNA. So DNA inside nucleus will synthesize mRNA. And mRNA will synthesize protein inside cell. So induction means mRNA synthesis will be increased. Increased synthesis. Repression means gene will be repressed and it will decrease the synthesis of mRNA from gene. So this is how, if mRNA synthesis decreases, low, protein will also be low. If mRNA synthesis high, protein will be high. Enzyme are protein. So this is how induction and repression occurs, and induction and repression actually affect gene expression. These both are related to gene expression. Did you get that?
Yes.
Induction, you can remember this way, induction, IN, so IN for increase. Induction, increase, and then opposite is repression.
Yeah.
Repression is like depression, and depression decrease. Decrease in synthesis. So those molecules which increase are called inducer, and those molecules which decrease are called repressor. So generally this inducer and repressor actually are hormones. Hormones. Which hormones? Insulin and glucagon. So insulin has certain set of enzyme, it will increase the synthesis of certain set of enzyme and decrease certain set of enzyme. The same thing glucagon. It will have a certain set of, we will talk in detail about this insulin and glucagon, which enzyme insulin affect and which enzyme glucagon affect. We will talk in detail about that.
And maybe you
Sir,
could, maybe during that time you could explain to me why you would give IV glucagon infusion for a beta blocker overdose.
Yes. You will get an answer when we talk about that. Okay. Yes, tell me. Yes, there was.
oh no, I had a question, but then I read the slide and the slide just answered it, so it's fine.
Okay. So you can see here are some answers. So insulin hormone actually induces this enzymes of glycolysis and represses enzymes of gluconeogenesis. So insulin means fed condition. I want to give you a formula. Insulin, just remember, insulin means fed condition. For the timing, just remember insulin means fed condition. And then I will talk in detail about other. So insulin means fed condition. Remember, insulin means fed condition here. And glucagon is reverse. Glucagon means fasting condition. So glucagon is released in fasting condition. Okay, now. So other mechanism of regulation. So these three, will you memorize these three mechanisms forever?
Oh yeah.
So
Definitely.
you must not forget these three mechanisms. Okay, whatever I taught you, you must not forget these three mechanisms. First is allosteric regulation. Second is covalent modification reversible, that is phosphorylation, dephosphorylation. And third is induction depression. First, allosteric regulation is not controlled by hormone. Allosteric, this phosphorylation, dephosphorylation, and induction depression, these two are controlled by hormones. Now, so other mechanism actually they are easy. They are not enzyme regulation, but regulation of pathway and other thing. So these are mechanism. For example, this is fourth is enzyme regulation and this enzyme only for digestive enzyme. So digestive enzymes are secreted as zymogens, and this activation, zymogen means the enzyme that is secreted from pancreas in inactive form. Okay, and this inactive enzyme, for example, this from pancreas, it is secreted into intestine, duodenum, in the form of chymotrypsinogen and trypsinogen. So this chymotrypsinogen will convert into trypsin, chymotrypsin and trypsinogen will convert into trypsin through proteolytic cleavage. So what happens is, this is enzyme and there is a protein. So a part of protein will be broken and this makes this enzyme active. After cleaving this protein, so this is called irreversible cleavage. This is called irreversible cleavage, covalent cleavage of bond, and this makes this enzyme active. This is irreversible cleavage. So this is a part of digestive enzyme. Only this is only related to digestive enzymes. It is not found in other enzymes. It is mainly digestive enzymes activated. So compartmentalization, I will give you just understand one example. So what is compartmentalization is, cell has mitochondria, cell has cytosol. So certain pathway happens in mitochondria, certain pathway happens in cytosol. So this, why does this happen? The cell has a very ingenious mechanism to segregate this pathway among this compartment, so that this pathway would not interfere each other. Let's example of this fatty acid synthesis and fatty acid breakdown, that is beta oxidation, fatty acid oxidation. So these are completely opposite process. So see, if they occur at the same places in same compartment, what will happen? There will be interference. But this, both the pathway are segregated. One happens, this happens in synthesis, happens in cytosol. Synthesis happens in cytosol, whereas oxidation happens in mitochondria. And this is how these two completely opposite pathways are segregated into two compartments. Because of this segregation, the regulation of both pathways becomes very easy for the cell. So that these two pathways does not interfere with each other. So this is a unique type of regulation, but it is permanent. It is permanent, so you will not have to take too much burden about this. You have to memorize, okay, which pathway present in which compartment. That's all you have to memorize. So this is a compartmentalization, is also a different type of regulation method that cell has adopted. Now, fifth is a method of isoenzymes. You know, glucose. Glucose is catalyzed by two different type of enzymes. One is called hexokinase. Yes. Tell me.
Never mind.
Okay. So what is isoenzyme? First, let me define what is isoenzyme. This is iso means similar, and then enzyme. So enzyme with similar function. See, enzyme with similar function. For example, you all students in MD1. In MD1, doing same function, studying same course. So you people are different in your facial appearance, your body type. So you people are different in structure. Your body are different. Structure. So you people are different in structure, but doing same function. So you can call yourself, if you compare with each other, you people are isoenzymes of each other. So you can remember isoenzyme that way. So isoenzymes are enzymes with same function, but different, same function but different structure. Okay, same function, different structure. Remember that. So this is isoenzyme, same function but different physical property, means structure are different. Immunological and this physical, chemical, immunological properties are different. So different structure but same function. So you can see here glucokinase. There are two enzymes. Let's take example of few. First, let's take few example here. So you can see there enzyme glucokinase and hexokinase. This both enzyme will actually catalyze glucose. But this glucokinase is present only in liver and beta cell of pancreas, and hexokinase present all over the other tissues. So what happens is this glucokinase has different physical property. It has different Km. It has different Vmax. So it has different property than hexokinase. We will talk about glucokinase and hexokinase in detail in our glycolysis. So what happens is glucokinase is present in liver and hexokinase is present elsewhere. So glucokinase, what does glucokinase do is, I will tell you about glucokinase is like a very honest, what do I say, selfless. Glucokinase is a very selfless type of enzyme. So what happens is, if glucose concentration in body, if it is low, then glucokinase does not touch that glucose. It spares that glucose for other tissue. But when glucose level becomes very high, then this glucokinase, what does this glucokinase do? It will actually store that glucose. It will convert that glucose into glucose 6-phosphate, and that glucose will be stored in the liver. And when glucose concentration is low, glucose will be released from the liver. That actually glucokinase will not touch glucose when glucose concentration is low. But when glucose concentration become high, this with the help of glucokinase, the liver will store glucose. to provide glucose for other tissue during fasting condition when glucose concentration is low. So this is a unique function of glucokinase. That is, though it catalyzes glucose, but it has unique property. Property is very different from this hexokinase. And why does this property happen? Because of the different structure. And this is because of this property. So glucose concentration among the tissue are maintained. So this is the significance of isoenzymes. Distribution of isoenzymes actually regulates metabolism at body level.
Where's troponin?
Yes.
Where's troponin in this?
Let's not talk about troponin. I will tell. First,
Okay.
Let's talk about glucose. Troponin. So troponin is a different thing. Okay, we will deviate.
Sorry, I just saw CK. So
Oh, CK is different. So it is. These are isoenzymes.
yeah, okay.
Okay, these are
That's
the
what
examples of isoenzymes. Okay, so isoenzymes are the enzymes that actually liver has different isoenzymes. Muscle has hexokinase. Liver has glucokinase, and that is why liver will not utilize glucose during fasting condition, but muscle and brain will utilize. In fat condition, liver will store the glucose because of that glucokinase. So can you see the regulation of glucose in fasting and fat condition because of this isoenzymes. That is why these isoenzymes regulate metabolism at the level of body. How different organ interact with each other is because of these isoenzymes, many isoenzymes. Okay, different organ doing same function. Liver also catalyze glucose, but muscle also, brain also, but the type of function, the way that this tissue approach that function become different because of this isoenzyme. So this is isoenzyme provides a regulation of metabolism at body level, tissue interaction. So when we talk about this glucokinase, you will understand more. Now these are other examples. You can see lactate dehydrogenase. There are 5 types of isoenzymes. Creatine kinase. There are 5 types of isoenzymes. These are very important enzyme. Laboratory test. Lactate dehydrogenase is also laboratory test. Creatine kinase is also laboratory test. This is also laboratory test. This is all are laboratory tests, and they have isoenzymes.
All
Yes.
is pancreatitis, high LFTs, rhabdo, and sepsis.
Rhabdomyolysis, and heart disease. You can see in heart disease you will see high creatine kinase, and in rhabdomyolysis also you will see in muscle defect disorder you will see high creatine kinase. Lactate dehydrogenase in immunological disorders you will see very high amount of lactate dehydrogenases. Okay, so
doctor, do you want us to memorize these examples, or are these just examples?
These are the remember this. Can't you remember the name of enzymes?
Yes.
Lactate dehydrogenase, creatine kinase, and even if you don't memorize, no problem. Just remember this.
Those are all the lab, like a lot of lab tests.
Okay, so these enzymes will come again slowly in the due course of time. Wherever necessary, we will explain about all these enzymes.
How it is, doctor? How it is useful in lab test?
Laboratory test. So laboratory test. It will be deviation from topic anyway, but you measure this activity of this enzyme. What will happen? Your heart is there, tissue is there. So if myocardial infarction happens, this cell will break, and from cell enzyme will come out in the blood, and the enzyme concentration will rise. And if you measure blood enzyme concentration, and if it comes to be high, then you suspect, okay, this problem, this person has this disease.
Oh, okay. So
okay.
Also can indicate if the physiology of the body working well or not.
Yeah, well or not. So which cell are damaged? For example, in liver diseases, this alkaline phosphatase become high. Then you will, if alkaline phosphatase level become high in blood, you detect the alkaline phosphatase level. If it is high, so you will find, okay, it is a liver disease. In pancreatic diseases, amylase become high. So that is how you detect pancreas. That is why I've written the location. pancreas. In pancreatic disease, amylase is a laboratory test. In liver disease, also in bone disease, this is a laboratory test. In myocardial infarction, this is a laboratory test. In muscle pathology, it is a lab. Yes.
That's what I was going to ask you, because for CK, like here in Canada, we don't do CK for, like, let's say a STEMI. We just
actually, we CK is done before, and it is done in developing country, right? Till date.
Oh, okay.
It is a very cheaper test. That is why it is done in. But this is replaced by different test, troponin test. So troponin is not an enzyme. Okay. So just remember, these are the examples. So you can see lactate dehydrogenase has 5 isoenzymes. They are distributed among the tissues. Creatine kinase has 3 isoenzymes. They are distributed among the tissues. 3 different tissue has 3 different isoenzymes. Alkaline phosphatase has 2 different isoenzymes. Amylase has 2 different isoenzymes. Pancreas and salivary. In salivary, different type of amylase and pancreas. So these are isoenzymes. So isoenzymes help body to interact with each other in terms of metabolism. Did you get that?
Yeah, thank you so much, Doctor.
Okay, so which is the fastest method of enzyme regulation? Tell me.
Hello, everyone.
Allosteric?
Allosteric?
Yes, allosteric is the fastest method. Okay, and this is intermediate, and this is slowest. Okay, this is a long-term method because it acts on the gene expression. Okay, induction and repression is about gene repression. So this is the fastest method and predominant. Yes, tell me.
Sorry, so for induction and repression, does that also mean that like stopping induction and repression would take time as well? Like
yes,
if it's a long-term one? Okay.
Yes. So actually, opposite of induction is repression. So induction takes time, repression will also take time. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
Okay, no. So compartmentalization is a different, it is a permanent type of method, and isoenzymes is also permanent. So here only our body actually in pathway, there is modification in this. Our hormone actually can influence this too, and reactant and product will inhibit this. So this is how, that is why these 3 are very important. Now, which type of regulation is under influence of insulin and glucagon? Which type among these 3 types?
Catalyst.
Yes.
The phosphorylation.
Yeah, phosphorylation and dephosphorylation. And other is induction depression also. Okay. Which type of regulation is not under influence of insulin and glucagon?
Allosteric.
Yes. So these are very important concept. Very easy but important. Easy to memorize and important. So let's talk about enzyme inhibition. So enzyme inhibition are of 2 types. Okay. One is called competitive and that is non-competitive. Very easy. Enzyme inhibition is very easy. So you have already studied kinetics. So enzyme inhibition is very easy. So what happens is competitive enzyme. So competitive will be very similar to substrate. Okay, competitive inhibitor will be very structurally very similar to substrate. Competitive. Will be very similar to structure. This inhibitor is very similar to structure of substrate. Okay, non-competitive, on the other hand, it does not bind here. Competitive inhibitor will bind here at active site, but non-competitive inhibitor will not bind active site. Actually, this non-competitive inhibitor is not structurally similar to substrate. It can bind anywhere. Non-competitive inhibitor can bind here, 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 even a part of substrate, but it will not occupy the complete this active site. Competitive will occupy active site. Did you understand the difference?
Yes.
Basic difference is this. If you understand this basic difference, competitive will come and bind here and don't allow substrate to bind it, and non-competitive bind anywhere. So competitive inhibitors are structurally similar to substrate. Non-competitive inhibitors are not structurally similar to substrate. So this is a basic difference, simple and basic difference. If you understand this, so complete. Competitive and non-competitive inhibitor is complete. You have understood the concept. Okay, this is only things. Now I'll tell you. So when you add inhibitor, so let me first talk about this. So you can see this competitive inhibitor, close structural resemblance. So inhibitor will be very similar to structure of substrate. That is the main important. You can say this is substrate. Substrate is catalyzed, but inhibitor will bind, but it is not catalyzed. That is the difference. That is why it is an inhibitor. So this is competitive inhibitor. Now you can see competitive inhibitor. So I will give you mnemonics to memorize this chart. I'll give mnemonics to memorize this graph. So I'll tell you. Can you see CM? CM competitive. Can you remember competitive like CM?
Yeah.
CM. Yes. Competitive like CM. You can you make this CM like KM?
Yes, we
So,
can. Yes.
yes. So just remember, this is a trick, just trick. So CM means this competitive means KM, and you put here changes. In competitive, KM changes. Non-competitive, non-competitive, com. So not, non for not, and KM change. That means Km is constant. Km does not change in non-competitive. Km change in competitive. This is a very important point.
And do we have to calculate that change?
Yes, you can calculate, but you don't need to calculate. You can calculate. Experimentally in laboratory, you can calculate. Okay? By putting inhibitor, you can take the enzyme activity and then you can calculate how different they are. Based on calculation only, we draw the graph. Okay? So these are laboratory work. Graph drawing, finding out the values, these are laboratory work. So we don't go into laboratory work. That's because you also don't require, just you require a concept. What are competitive, what are non-competitive. So competitive, just remember, competitive Km changes. Non-competitive Km does not change. So that is what you remember. You need to remember about the competitive and non-competitive. One more thing about graph. Graph also, you will see the competitive. This is Lineweaver-Burke plot. This is Lineweaver-Burke plot for competitive. Here is 1 by V, here is 1 by substrate. So double reciprocal curve. Now competitive, when you see come, so come means it will cross. So just remember, there will be cross here. I will explain why cross is there. So there will be cross. When you add inhibitor, this is the line after inhibitor. And this is line before inhibitor. Normal line. So line will shift towards, it will shift is it anti-clockwise? It will shift anti-clockwise like this. And CM is cross. Non-competitive, don't cross. Don't cross. So you will see in non-competitive, you will not find crossing this. In non-competitive, what will happen? After addition of inhibitor, the curve will move like this. It will move towards this clockwise direction, rotate clockwise, but it does not cross. It will go like this. So does not cross, in non-competitive not cross, and in competitive cross. So at least you remember this mnemonics, then everything will at least you memorize. After you memorize, understanding will be clear. I will make you understand, no problem. So do you see what type of curve is this now?
Competitive.
Yes.
So from just after looking, you can see, okay, it is competitive. You don't have to put stress on your brain. This is very powerful. The tricks are very powerful. Now you can say this is competitive because it cross. So now conceptually, why does it cross? Because you know the competitive Km changes. Km changes, but Vmax remains constant. And that is why Vmax is constant, and that is why it crossed through this Vmax. Km actually, this is Km prime. This Km prime is actually the new Km after addition of inhibition. This Km is high. Km means substrate concentration. So this Km is high. 1 by Km, if Km is Km, let me write this. Km prime is higher than Km. So which will be higher? 1 by Km and 1 by Km prime. Which will be higher among these two?
Km prime, 1 over Km prime.
Yes. Which is higher, it will become lower. You can see.
Dr. Santush, can you
This is
let
high.
this in?
If you divide 1 with the higher number, the number will be, actually result will be lower. Here suppose this is Km is low. You are dividing by 5 and you are dividing by 8. Which will be lower? This will be lower.
1/8. 1/8.
Okay. So you need to think also. Later you go and think about it. So this Km is actually, Km is high, 1 Km is lower than this. Km is higher than this, 1 by Km is lower. That is why the curve is like this. So it shifts like this. So remember this curve. So this is the Km of inhibitor. Right shift. So this shift is like this. So anti-clockwise shift of curve will be, you will see. Every time you will see anti-clockwise shift.
Are
Here
all
also.
competitive inhibitors, are they all reversible?
No, competitive are reversible.
All of them?
Yes, almost
Okay.
all of them. So there are sometimes suicide inhibitor. Let's not talk about that. So
Okay.
all competitive inhibitors are irreversible. So let's just answer this question.
Someone got kicked out. Will you let them back in?
Okay. So can you answer this? Which is curve in presence of inhibitor, A or B?
A.
A is in presence of inhibitor. B is normal without presence of. Now, and then Km prime is Km of after inhibitor. So this is how you can find out Km also from this graph. So this is, you can see, this is the actually Michaelis-Menten curve. So Vmax is same, but Km changes. Km changes like this. So Km different, Vmax same. So competitive inhibitor the curve will kiss over flat. In competitive inhibitor, the boyfriend and girlfriend, they kiss here. But non-competitive inhibitor, they don't kiss. You can see this is non-competitive, they don't kiss. Competitive, they kiss. Because Vmax is same. That is why. Now you can see this is non-competitive inhibitor. Can you see the crossing here? Can you see? No crossing. Why no crossing? Because Km is same. Km not changed. Same. That is why does not cross. But Vmax differ. Vmax is different. And that is why it does not cross here. So this is curve of non-competitive inhibitor. This is curve of competitive inhibitor. So which is inhibitor? After you can see again. Yes, tell me.
You said the competitive enzyme irreversible?
Competitive are reversible.
Reversible.
Competitive are reversible. Competitive are reversible.
Thank you.
Generally non-competitive, but non-competitive becomes irreversible. Generally non-competitive are irreversible. Competitive are reversible. Okay. Competitive are reversible because you know competition. Competitive means competition. So
Yeah.
inhibitor compete for the active site. Okay, inhibitor will compete for the active site of enzyme, and that is why it is reversible. Competitive is reversible. Generally, non-competitive are irreversible. Okay. Now, so you know this is where the curve which kiss the normal curve is called competitive curve, and which does not kiss non-compatible curve. You can remember that. So here Vmax differ. Vmax are different. In competitive Vmax same, but Km in competitive Km changes. Vmax same. Non-competitive Vmax same. Vmax different, Km change. So you can use that trick. Non-competitive Km not change same. Okay, Vmax different. Km same. When you compare with this, Vmax different. Here Vmax same. Km different. So that is what you have to memorize. So non-competitive inhibitor may be reversible or irreversible. Generally, it is irreversible. Okay, and these are heavy metals, iodoacetamide. So this different type of inhibitors will be there, and actually you don't need to know many names of this non-competitive inhibitors. It will bind anywhere. Remember this heavy metal at least. So they will bind anywhere. These are non-competitive inhibitors. So allosteric inhibition is a type of non-competitive inhibition. Okay, it is a type of, but we don't take it actually we don't actually talk here about anything. So it is allosteric is different thing, but it will bind different from this side. Allosteric inhibitor bind different from side. So you can take in category of non-competitive inhibitor. These are not inhibitor, these are regulator.
And
So
that's
they are different from it.
that's what the fastest then, right? Because they change Vmax, right? It becomes different. Is that right?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Tell me.
Sorry. No, I said they're fast. They're a faster reaction because they actually change the Vmax, right? Whereas the competitive inhibitors don't change the Vmax, but they change the Km. The non-competitive inhibitors use they don't change the Km, but they change the Vmax, right?
Yes, yes, they change the Vmax. Competitive, non-competitive change the Vmax. Competitive change Km. Here Km, here Vmax.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
So that's why they're faster, right?
Yes, and I'll tell you one thing. So for competitive, this is enzyme, okay? For competitive, I'm talking
Sir,
about
the voice
competitive.
is not clear.
What will happen? There are 10 enzymes. Not clear? Hello? Hello?
Now is okay. Now is okay. But before, yeah, it wasn't.
Okay, sometimes it happens. So this is enzyme, okay? This is enzyme. Now this enzyme, suppose the enzyme you have 10 enzymes, okay? Just taking example only, 10 substrate. And you add 10 more inhibitors here. Okay, you add 10 more inhibitors here. So enzyme, 10 enzyme, 5 enzyme will bind what? Substrate, and 5 enzyme will bind inhibitor. Okay, now you see, if you want to replace this or you need more substrate, maybe 20 more substrate. So that is how you see you are requiring more substrate concentration to replace them also. And that is why this Km means substrate concentration. That is why Km increases in competitive inhibition. This is the reason, because this substrate also has to compete with this inhibitor to replace this inhibitor from this active site. This substrate has to compete with this, and that is why Km becomes high after addition of inhibitor. Did you get that?
Yes, yes, doctor.
Okay, go through that. Initially seems it is not that difficult, but you can remember that graph from my trick, and you remember that trick, at least you memorize things. And slowly, if you go through the slide, you will understand things also. It's not that difficult. Now you can see, I have already told you. So negative effector will shift towards right, and positive will shift towards left. So which is FBI? This will FBI. Feedback inhibitor will shift towards right. Feed forward stimulation will shift towards left. So these are the competitive inhibitors. So just within 10-15 minutes, I will complete them. They are very easy. These are just example of competitive inhibitor. So you can see the competitive inhibitors. These are drugs. These are used as drugs. These are some of them are anti-cancer drugs. These are anti-cancer drugs. And now this is allopurinol drug that is required for treatment of uric acid, high uric acid. And these are drugs for treatment of like myasthenia gravis. So these are drugs, and these are important drugs of pharmacological drugs. So these enzyme inhibitors are used as drug. Okay, so in that sense, I am teaching you pharmacology also. So these inhibitors, they behave like drugs. So folate, we will talk about folate analog. We'll talk about purine analog. So these are very similar to purine. We will talk about acetylcholine analog, HMG coenzyme analog. So see, this is folic acid. So this is folic acid is a vitamin. You know, folic acid is a vitamin. You can see 2 ring and 1 ring. So you can see similar structure of this element, but structural difference will be there. What is the structural difference you will see here? You will see methyl group replacement here, methyl group. Just slight difference is there, and because of this slight difference, this will not be effective. This will not be effective, and it will inhibit binding of folate with enzyme. This amethopterin will inhibit binding of enzyme. So you can see this amethopterin and other aminopterin you can see amino group. So these are the molecules that are very similar structure to folate, and that is why it will inhibit certain enzymes. So that the enzyme, this will inhibit this enzyme. This enzyme is not present in human. This enzyme is present in bacteria. So actually folate inhibitors will inhibit this enzyme. Yes, tell me.
So basically methotrexate, because it's a
No.
because the folate,
Actually-
it causes abortion, right?
Let me explain. Method. I'm talking about different thing. Okay. So let me talk about
Sorry.
this first. Folate synthesis. This enzyme actually folate synthesis. Sorry, this is folate reductase. This is present. So I wanted to, because of like hurry, I wanted to tell you something I could not tell. So folate synthesis, the enzyme that is present, that is synthesized for folate synthesis, it is not present in our body. Folate synthesis. Okay, this is not present in our body, but these enzymes are present in our body. Okay, after synthesis of folate, these enzymes are, so dihydrofolate reductase are present in our body. So this methotrexate will inhibit this enzyme. It will bind folate. It will occupy the enzyme here, teeth, where folate binds. It will occupy that side. Methotrexate will occupy that side, and in that way, this methotrexate will inhibit this enzyme action. And if it inhibits enzyme action, so cancer cell will die, because cancer cell is very active cell. It will die because the cell inside the enzyme inside the cancer cell will not be allowed to act, as you said, methotrexate. So methotrexate will cause death of the cell, dividing cell. Okay, because folate is not being utilized properly by enzyme, and that is why it will cause abortion. Did you understand?
Yes, very cool. Thanks.
Okay, so you can see, so amethopterin, aminopterin, this is how these are like reaction is important for synthesis of purine and pyrimidine. So these folate requiring enzymes are important for nucleotide synthesis, purine and thymine nucleotide synthesis, purine and pyrimidine nucleotide synthesis. So what will happen is inhibition of this reaction will cause inhibition of DNA synthesis, and that is why cell division. And therefore these inhibitors are used as anti-cancer drug, because cancer are very rapidly multiplying cell. If cancer cells are inhibited, so cancer will stop dividing. If this DNA synthesis is inhibited in cancer cell stop growing, and if it stop growing, so it will treat cancer. Now you can see allopyrinol. Allopyrinol is inhibitor of enzyme. It is very similar to purine. You can see that is why it is called purine analog. It is very similar to purine. Purine is hypoxanthine. So it is very similar. You can see hypoxanthine, and these are very similar. Only little bit difference you will see here. So you can see nitrogen here and here, but you can see nitrogen here, and only these differences are there. And because of these differences, this xanthine oxidase, this actually allopyrinol will bind with this enzyme, and it will not allow this hypoxanthine to bind this. When it does not allow this, allopyrinol does not allow hypoxanthine to bind xanthine oxidase, what will happen? Uric acid will not be produced. So uric acid will become low. So allopyrinol is treatment for hyperuric acidemia or gout. So this is a treatment for gout, allopyrinol. This is xanthine oxidase inhibitor. Now you can see physostigmine and neostigmine. This is treatment used in treatment of myasthenia gravis. So you will study about myasthenia gravis. So what does this enzyme? Just let me explain. This enzyme inhibit acetylcholinesterase, and you know in myasthenia gravis acetylcholine is low. In muscle acetylcholine is low. So if this inhibits this enzyme, what will happen? Acetylcholine, this enzyme, what does this enzyme do? This enzyme destroy acetylcholine. So when this inhibit this, so acetylcholine level will become high. And if acetylcholine level becomes high, so this will be a treatment of myasthenia gravis. So this physostigmine, neostigmine, they are inhibitor of acetylcholinesterase.
I thought that we just like, because I always just give IVIG for myasthenia gravis.
Yes.
IVIG, is that kind of similar to this medication then? The immunoglobulins.
Immunoglobulins, you must have, might be a test for myasthenia gravis.
Like, no, you know when we give the IVIG, like the IG, like immunoglobulins, like you infuse it when they're having a exacerbation.
Okay. So there are different mechanisms. What happens? So you have to go into the detail of pathogenesis of this myasthenia gravis. Then you will understand. Okay. So this is also treatment line. That what you are telling is different thing. Okay.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay. So this is, and these are the inhibitor of acetylcholinesterase especially. Now you can see the structural similar. These are very structurally similar. There also you saw structurally these compounds allopurinol and then methotrexate. Those were similar. Methotrexate was similar to like folic acid. Yes.
Doctor, do we need to memorize shapes of?
No.
Only to.
Yes, I am. I have to show that okay, this is similar to in structure. That is what you need to remember. Okay, this is similar to structure. How similar? That is what I am showing you. You don't need to bother about that. You don't have to memorize. So the acetylcholine and this structure are very similar. You can see these are very comparable, and that is why this will bind this side. So this will bind substrate site. This compound will bind substrate site of enzyme where acetylcholine binds, and that is why this is called competitive inhibitor. Okay. For that reason, I am writing here structure. You don't have to memorize. I am showing here structural similarity. Did you get that?
Yes, doctor. Yes, thank you.
That is the one. That is the only purpose. And all this, no structure you have to memorize. Here you don't have to memorize structure. I'm just showing the similarity, and that is why it is a competitive inhibitor. Because these are similar, that is why they are competitive inhibitor. These are similar, that is why they are competitive inhibitor. You can see these are similar. Here also, you can see similar part of molecule. Though the molecule, they are very different, but essential part are similar. So that is why they are inhibitor. And they are not, they cannot be catalyzed. They will bind, but they cannot be catalyzed. Enzyme cannot catalyze this, cannot break this bond. And that is why they are inhibitor, competitive inhibitor. So these are physostigmine, neostigmine, they are used in myasthenia gravis. So mevastatin and lovastatin, they inhibit this drug. Statin drug, they will inhibit the enzyme that will helpful for synthesis of cholesterol. They inhibit this enzyme. HMG coenzyme A. This is a rate limiting enzyme. Just memorize this enzyme. This is a rate limiting enzyme. HMG coenzyme A reductase. This mevastatin and lovastatin inhibits this. Now you can see this HMG coenzyme A reductase will act on this enzyme. Okay, and the structure of this, so this substrate, structure of this substrate is this. This is the structure of this substrate. Now these are mevastatin and simvastatin will be very similar to this, and that is what you can see. This is, you can see.
Do we have to memorize the structures?
This similar to this is structure. You
Are
can
we
see
memorizing all these structures?
No. You don't have to memorize. Just if you go through the lecture, you will see, go through the slide. You will see the structural similarities are there. That is why these are inhibited.
You just want us to look at them and then say, oh, this part is different than this. That's right.
Yes, this part is very similar to this like reactant. These compounds are very similar to this compound. That is why these are competitive inhibitors. Did you get that?
Yes, thank you.
That is what you need to understand. That is what I'm making. That is the point I want to make. So these inhibitors are structurally similar to the reactant. Okay.
Someone else got kicked out. Will you let them in?
Okay, we finished. You can see this. You can use this as your last slide as your like conclusion.
It's summary to all.
As summary. So if you capture this slide, so you will actually revise everything. Everything you will able to revise.